It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, welcome back, folks. Good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to get to some Arkansas news here in a little bit. That they won't cut spending. They keep raising our taxes. It's pretty frustrating. But we're going to stick with this national news because it's No Collusion Day. So happy No Collusion Day once again, everybody out there. Some might argue it was yesterday, but, whatever. Let's make it a two-day holiday, right? I want to welcome to the program. We have political analyst John Michael Chambers is on the line. He is an author of a book called Trump and the Resurrection of America. John, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Now, I understand you were a talk radio host at one point.
Way back in the day, yes, in Tampa Bay area.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. It's always good to have a fellow talker on the program. So, John, tell us about your book. Why'd you want to write this book, Trump and the Resurrection of America?
Well, I was in Asia at the time for a couple of years, actually, watching things unfold. And I had written in a previous book in 2015, there was a segment in there that stated that I believe the most unlikely person in our hour of need will arrive for the leadership we so desperately needed. And lo and behold, there I am in Thailand and watching President Trump come down the escalator. After a couple of speeches, that was it. I came back to the States, wrote the book, and I covered 8 states on a book signing speaking tour discussing the issues. So the reason is this is our chance to resurrect America. We've been in a post-constitutional government to a greater or lesser extent for many years. And so I can't think of anything more important to do than this.
So how do you think things have gone so far in this? President Trump, I feel like, has done a lot. And I think one of the reasons the left and the right, or the traditional Republican Democrat establishments, don't like him, we now know as Americans, I think it's undeniable that there is a deep state that exists, that is that has contempt for the people in this country, specifically flyover country. If you don't, take that dogmatic view on the coastal elite subscribe to, So how's he doing so far?
Well, I mean, truth be told, the first 2 years is probably unprecedented by any president prior to President Trump. The accomplishments are enormous. PromisesKept.com is an official Trump Washington website that lists his accomplishments by category. I think he's done a phenomenal job, and with every gun, if you will, pointed at him from the deep state and its operatives. You may recall when Trump was a candidate, he said, "Hey, look, I'm not running against these opponents. I'm running against the media." This has been the biggest problem. The deep state they control the media to a large extent. So he's accomplished an enormous amount, not just in the economy, but all across the board, oftentimes not reported. And yesterday, of course, big day, biggest political scandal in U.S. history. And the conclusion, no collusion, no obstruction, and now the pendulum has shifted. This is a major shift in the Trump presidency.
Huge. And I think now it's his turn because, we've had – I've interviewed, Congressman Devin Nunes. A couple weeks ago, Victor Davis Hanson was on. And, this idea – when's he going to declassify all these FISA documents so we can actually see what was going on? If he had done it before the Mueller report came out, it might have looked bad. There might have been bad optics there. But now I kind of feel like it's time. Let's show the American people what really happened.
You're absolutely right. And, I speak to a lot of people out in these public speeches and such. And people in this country, particularly his Trump supporters, have been saying that, why doesn't the president declassify? Well, you just nailed it. There is a plan, and it may have backfired. I believe now, not necessarily this morning, but we've entered a phase now in this battle, and the president is going to begin the declassification, FISA, and other documents he has. I mean, after all, he is the president. He has all the goods on everyone. The NSA files, the emails, the phone calls, the text, WikiLeaks reports, and FISA documents. So it's a game changer. The narrative is officially shifted, and the media, the mainstream media, has no credibility anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
They really don't, and I don't know what they're going to do. I was listening to another show And there was a caller that was asking, does the mainstream media have any? Do they have the clout that they once had? I mean, I think the answer is no, but we don't really know to what extent. And I think the 2020 presidential election will let us know. I think right now President Trump is on track to be reelected. That's why you have the Democrats wanting open borders. They want to redo the Electoral College system, and they want to lower the voting age to 16. We're talking with John Michael Chambers. He's an author of the book Trump and the Resurrection of America. He's also author of a book, Surviving Global Governance. Tell us about that book, John.
Well, that book was jointly written by two friends of mine, economist Dr. Kirk Elliott and former hyperbaric officer for the Navy SEALs, good friend of mine who's since passed on, Dr. Richard Davis. I was actually in Asia at the time, going around through several countries when we wrote that. And I think it was back in 2013 or 14. I think 13 when we published that book. And we saw what was coming. I mean, if you think about it, Clinton, Bush, and Obama, and particularly Obama, we were in trouble as a nation. And so that's that. We didn't see a Donald Trump arriving on the scene to, do major course correction for us back to a constitutional republic. So we wrote the book Surviving Global Governance because that's in fact what we would have had to have done should we have continued on that trajectory. But thank goodness the lady in the pantsuit didn't get elected, and we have Donald Trump.
Yeah, the lady in the pantsuit, I think, needs to be worried at this point. I mean, come on. I mean, she and the the Democrats, they funded essentially a dossier that was completely, salacious, inaccurate. Then it was used to spy on the Trump campaign. I mean, and that's just what we know. I think there's a lot more that we don't know, right? You think Hillary Clinton should be worried this morning?
Oh, I think, quite honestly, regardless of the media optics, Clinton's, Obama, and a long list of names all across the globe, quite frankly, are running for the hills. They're panicking, which is why we see this absurd insanity narratives that we see in terms of social platform, changing the votes to age 16, getting rid of the Electoral College. They can't win fair and square, so they're trying to change the rules of the game. Trump, there isn't anybody, in my opinion, certainly the cast of characters that have decided to run now that can beat President Trump in 2020, fair and square. The deep state, and I call them, the deep state operatives, they're running for the hills. That's the way I see it, because they know Trump has everything on everybody, and it's going to turn around now through the declassification and other methods. But they'll continue with this false narrative. I mean, it's really they're imploding. The Art of War, the author Sun Tzu, right? The quote. He says, when your enemy is destroying themselves, just leave them alone. Let them have at it. And that's pretty much what the president has done for the past 2 years. But now, in my view, he's going to go on the offense and pluck them off one by one, because he's used the term illegal yesterday at the airport in Palm Beach before he flew out when the Mueller report when Barr released the statement. And so that's a very big, important term. He doesn't throw these words around for no reason. Same thing when the 60-minute interview was done, the FBI, about a month ago, Trump tweeted the words coup against my administration, coup against me, coup d'etat against me. He used the word coup, and he used the word treason. Now, you don't make a digital media footprint using those words as the President of the United States unless you intend to follow through. Trump is the rule of law president. Yes, to answer your question, Hillary Clinton definitely needs to be concerned. Yeah,
we've got this Twitter right now up on our screen at conduitnews.com, facebook.com/conduitnews. It's the Twitter feed of James Comey. And yesterday he tweeted a photo of himself. I think that's him in a forest with really tall trees, looking up at the sky, and he's saying so many questions. And I'm pretty sure Lindsey Graham. I saw that Lindsey Graham retweeted that and said, "Yeah, we've got a lot of questions," meaning for you, James. So he's another one that needs to be worried, doesn't he?
No question about it. Look, this illegal dossier, hoax, witch hunt, scam against this country and president has been fully exposed now. And this is the reason why they need to be worried, and especially call me the bad cop, because what you have here, our president, Donald Trump, must take advantage of this opportunity and set a precedent so that something like this never happens again. You cannot escape justice, and I believe the hammer of justice is going to come down on a long, long list of people, and we'll be dealing with this for several years to come. But law and order will be restored, and lo and behold, along the way, the president just keeps accomplishing quite a bit of his Make America Great Again agenda. But
yes.
We've got a big mountain to climb. There's no question about it.
We're talking with political analyst and author John Michael Chambers. He has an extensive resume. I see here that you have worked with Ron Paul in the past and the Save America Foundation. Do you think it's interesting? You know, Ron Paul was really my first exposure to any sort of ideas of libertarianism, and I feel like that those ideas are becoming more and more popular. I know people are really down on the younger generation, the millennials in particular, but I think the generation after them, just Generation Z, I think they're understanding that liberty is very, very important. Have you seen those ideas that, you know, Ron Paul advocated? Really, he was in the wilderness a lot of times, screaming in the wilderness, but I think they're getting more traction. What do you think?
Absolutely, and not on the complete libertarian agenda, but on the things, in my view, that particularly Ron Paul have been shouting from the rooftops for 3 decades. One, for example, is taking on the central bank system and the Federal Reserve funding money. I mean, Ron Paul's going to be dancing in his PJs soon, because President Trump is going after the central bank and the and the Federal Reserve system. And there's enough of a footprint of President Trump's statements with regards to that, if one looks deep enough. And I believe we're going to see the nationalization of the Fed at some point. H.R. 24 and H.R. 25 will be auditing the Fed on many different counts. I think Rand Paul is going to pick up the torch from Papa Paul and support President Trump with regards to at least the issue of the central banking system. So, you know, I think, I did support Ron Paul and campaigned for liberty back in the day, and he certainly got my vote. But it's a new day. It's a Trump era. Everything has changed, and I'm very excited for the 2020 election, because I believe Trump is unbeatable. The only concerns I have, of course, are these crazy bills before Congress, which are never going to pass,
right,
in my opinion, on the Electoral College and the age 16. But the system is rigged. I mean, there's software programs that are on the central servers that count our votes, and this is how Senator Hillary Clinton stole 17 primaries from Senator Sanders, and I write about that in my book, a chapter called "Free and Fair Elections." And so, you know, there's some great concerns that I have that and all the other shenanigans with regards to rigging elections are still there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a concern. See, the founding fathers said that votes need to be cast in private, but counted in public.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the majority of our votes are now counted in secret. The secret vote count through computers. This is a very big problem.
Do you think, again, we're talking with political analyst John Michael Chambers, do you think we're going to see anything between now and the 2020 elections concerning illegal immigrants and their voting habits that we're told are non-existent? But there was a commission that was formed, and they submitted, I think, recommendations, and then they disbanded. We haven't really heard anything, but I think this is a really huge scandal that nobody's really paying attention to.
Well, it's a big issue, as you brought up, because as we know, the illegal aliens that do get to vote and how that happens is another whole dedicated program. But the fact that they vote, we know who they vote for. They vote for Democrats. So you keep that border open a few more years, you'll never see a Republican in Washington. There's 5 reasons, in my opinion, and I'll run through this very, very quickly, why the backlash that this president has received at the border as a candidate and as a sitting president. These 5 things, not in any particular order. 1, those that come across vote for Democrats. 2, money is made at the border. Drug running, gun running, and child sex trafficking, and that's dirty money runs through the deep state and through the pockets of the Democrats, according to El Chapo's last days of his court hearing, where he named the names in the Democrat Party who received money from him. And then the 5th reason that they go after Trump on this border is because, as it was the European Union and the Euro, where they stripped the sovereignties away of those nations, They were trying to do the same thing here in America, North American Union and the Amero, Canada, Mexico, and U.S. Not conspiracy, on the floor of Congress for congressional record. And so this is the reason. It's nothing to do with $5 billion. The money is there. And my take on it is the wall will be built. It will be finished. Mexico has already paid for it based on the trade and tariff negotiations already done by the president. And the wall's going to get built. As far as the illegal aliens coming in, you know, they tried to say it wasn't that many people that voted. Nonsense. WikiLeaks released a report back in the day that it was 5 to 8 million estimated illegal aliens that voted.
Wow.
So, in my opinion, not only did Trump win like 3,000-something counties against Hillary's like 57 or whatever it was, not only did he crush her in the Electoral College, truth be told, he also probably won in a personal vote. I forget what it's called.
Popular vote.
Yeah, thank you. The popular vote, he probably won by quite a bit there, too. If you take the illegal aliens out, you take the 200,000 dead people that voted, and the gerrymandering and all the other games that we've come to learn about in Broward County, Florida, that are going on. But look, all I know is Trump is my president. My name is John Michael Chambers. I love my president, and I support my president. So he gives me a reason not to. He's got my support 100%.
John Michael Chambers,
it's
it's great to meet you again. Your book, Trump and the Resurrection of America. We put the Amazon link up there earlier. Go buy his book. John Michael Chambers, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a great program and enjoy the holiday.
All right. The holiday he's referring to is No Collusion Day. Happy No Collusion Day, everybody.